Mitch, how long you lived in the Honduras?
I moved down here in 2002, so 7.5 years or so.
From where?
I moved from Virginia. I'm originally from Missouri.
Why did you move down here?
I'm just kind of tired of the corporate life in the U.S. and want to do something different, and this is about as different as you can get.
What do you do for a living here?
I own a computer store, Paradise Computers. We are kind of the IT department for the island.
Now the country's a pretty big country. Why do you actually choose here on this island?
It's beautiful. It's predominantly English speaking. My Spanish is okay, but I saw that the tourism industry here on Roatan was really exploding, and I wanted to be part of that.
I assume you've seen what's happened here in terms of politically with the former President Zelaya or current President Zelaya, depending on how you characterize it. You could characterize what happened?
Over the years, after he was elected, he did several things that kind of moved to the left. He was elected mostly as a centrist, and he veered sharply to the left. After he signed the ALBA agreement and became part of Chavez's group, several things started happening. He gave away some maritime territory to Nicaragua. He boosted
actually gave away?
Yes. There was a decision in The Hague that defined the maritime boundary between Nicaragua and Honduras, and there was an area that was still in dispute. They said they couldn't decide that, and Zelaya basically turned over the control of that to the Nicaraguan government, and he didn't tell anybody about it. And that's an area that's been fished by Hondurans for years and years and years, and the only way they found out about it was that the Nicaraguan Navy confiscated Honduran boats. So we had Honduran boats, Honduran crews in Nicaragua, and the Honduran government would not do anything to help them get them back.
All right. Well, there's doing something that's unwise that your country doesn't like, and there's doing something crooked or illegal. I mean, that decision may have been an unwise one, or is there something else about it?
Well, leading up to June 28th, the day that he was taken out of office, he started talking about the cuatro urna, which is the fourth ballot box, and that was to institute a referendum to change the Constitution of Honduras to allow multiple terms for president. The Constitution of Honduras says that he can't do that. He doesn't have the power to hold a referendum. The Supreme Court voted 15-0 that what he was doing was illegal. He couldn't proceed with it. The Congress, after he was taken out, voted 125-3 to remove him from office. Everyone is very clear that what he did was illegal and against the Honduran Constitution. One of the things that I think that happened just before he was removed that was most egregious, and it really isn't reported very much, is that he gathered a mob of about 1,000 people and stormed a military base to retrieve these ballots. These ballots were printed in Venezuela because nobody in Honduras would print it for an illegal poll. Flown in, the Attorney General confiscated those ballots, held them in an Air Force base in Tegucigalpa. The next day, Zelaya, from the presidential palace, gave really fiery speeches and gathered up this mob. They loaded up on buses and trucks, drove to the Air Force base, physically broke down the gates, physically took the ballots so that they could distribute them themselves. I can't imagine that happening in the States. I can't imagine that happening in any democracy, where a president would actually incite a mob to go against other parts of government. That's just an example of how strong he was moving against the other parts. Everybody talks about the cuatro urna, and that was certainly the keystone of it.
The referendum. The
referendum, right. And what he published right before, on June 25th, it was dated June 25th, it didn't actually come out until the 27th, actually called for an establishment of a constitutional convention, which could very easily replace the Congress. So the fear in Honduras was that it wasn't just a poll. It wasn't just a, hey, what's the country feel like? This was a definite move to remove the Congress and remove the Supreme Court and center the power all on him. It's a pretty classic move of how the governments that have followed the Chavez model will take control of the country.
I assume you know that President Obama has called for President Zelaya to be reinstated as president, or I don't know if he's been uninstated, however you want to characterize it. Why do you think, you're in America and you live down here, why do you think that President Obama is taking the side of Zelaya?
That's a hard question to answer, and I don't really know for sure. It's certainly perplexing for us down here who have lived through all the build-up to this event. June 28th was the day he was removed from office, but this was a culmination of 2 or 3 years of actions. And to see the American government take the stand where we actually are on the side of Chavez and Morales and Ortega and Castro is just, it's really confusing to us. It's confusing to the Hondurans, it's confusing to us. As an American down here in business, I was very concerned before June 28th. I thought that there was a good chance that at some point they may nationalize businesses, that we may lose our property. There was a lot of fear, a lot of unrest. June 28th, when Zelaya was removed, without a gunshot, without a shed of blood, any bloodshed, there were some shots going into the palace, I guess, but that was a great day for Honduras. That was the best thing they could have done. We were much more comfortable on June 29th than I was on June 27th.
Have you spoken to the American ambassador to the Honduras?
Yeah, we met with him in July, 2 or 3 weeks after or 2 weeks, I guess, after after Zelaya was removed.
What did he say?
Pretty much the party line. He basically quoted what we're hearing come out of Washington, D.C., that Zelaya was democratically elected, that he was removed illegally, and that he needed to be reinstated. There was a group of 6 of us, 6 Americans that went and met with him, mostly from the island, some from the mainland, and all of us just totally disagree with that. I think it was a total misread of what was going on in Honduras.
What do you think about Mitch?
I think that if there ever was the right guy at the right place at the right time, it's Mitch.
Why?
He's very strong. He understands what needs to happen. He's not caving into international pressure. He's done a very good job of telling the Honduran people that we're going to have to go through some hard times until we go through this process. Eventually, the new government of Honduras will have to be recognized. It has to be. You can't ignore Honduras forever. I think it'll probably happen with the elections. You know, right now, the U.S. is saying, well, we might not recognize the elections. Anytime a country in history that has moved out of a democracy, even though I don't think Honduras has, the only way to get back in democracy is to have an election. You have to have an election. These candidates that are running for president were selected before Zelaya left office. The date of the election was set before Zelaya left office. This whole thing was done while Zelaya was in power.